So after Halloween and The Fog, John Carpenter tackled another horror film. And even by his own admission, I think this is, if there's going to be a masterpiece by Mr. Carpenter, this one's probably it. Although I think Starman would give it a run for its money, just as two films put side by side, and of course they're both in the sci-fi genre. But if for horror purposes, yeah, The Thing is pretty much at the top of the list, and it's a horror film that does go in both two genres of horror and science fiction. The Starman, of course, is a romance, so science fiction and romance. But and I was recently was I on that live stream or listening to? I think I was listening to a Doomcock live stream, and someone mentioned that they thought that the Thing was better than Alien as far as sci-fi horror goes, and it's a really tough call. There's different. Doomcock went with Alien, and I mean, maybe it's when the mood pushes me, but both films are absolutely excellent and groundbreaking in so many ways, and just with and the mastery of atmosphere and mood and all of that, which is so very important for particularly for horror films, and Carpenter really nails it here, and he showed his skills at the outset with Halloween, and here it just really all comes together. So I mean, The Thing versus Alien, boy, yeah, again, that's really tough. But well, I'll get into what the Alien franchise at some other time. But yeah, those are two contenders, and I was gonna, because I'm in the mood of Carpenter films. I was like, yeah, I think Thing beats it out, but then well, wait a minute, yeah. So it's I guess right now it's a draw for me. So The Thing, and it was teased whether or not he knew he would get a shot at this film or not. I don't know, but in Halloween, the original film of The Thing, which is based on a short story called Who Goes There, and had more to do with paranoia and not trusting each other in this group that are pretty much stranded. They're stuck in this base in Antarctica and isolated from the world, and they're being hunted by this monster. And there's a BBC radio adaptation of the original story, and it's pretty good. I would highly recommend you check that out. And I like the original movie too. There's James Arness and Matt Dillon. But it took quite a few liberties with the story, but the basic premise is there. So when John Carpenter comes to it, of course, it's far more gruesome, but it is, I believe, more closer to the original story, and certainly the paranoia aspect within the group of not trusting one another and all this sort of thing that is played out. So an alien spaceship crashes, however many thousands or millions of years ago, and crashes into Antarctica, and fortunately freezes, and that's that. Well, jump to the 80s, and a Norwegian base discovers this thing, and what's interesting about the Norwegian base is that when the characters that Kurt Russell, of course, is the star, who was played Elvis in the TV movie that John Carpenter did, and he's the helicopter pilot, and the opening of it is these Norwegians are chasing this dog in the helicopter, and of course the dog, it's the creature. It shapeshifted into the dog. The Norwegians know this, but the Americans don't, and he comes to the American base, and the Norwegians can't speak any English, so they can't explain, or they're just too panicked and frustrated to be able to just tell him or what have you, and he's trying to kill that dog, and it's all miscommunications and whatnot, and he ends up shooting the guys to get him out of the way, and tries to kill the dog, and then is killed by one of the other guys there. So there they go. The dog gets in, And it's, boy, I tell you, the dog's a great actor, because it's like really kind of, it's watching them as the base doctor and Kurt Russell, they fly off to the Norwegian base to go see what happened. And the dog is just staring at them the whole time, you know. You know, he's like, oh, man. And then when they come back after they see what happened at the base and everything. But when they get to the base and the setup of it, I'm guessing, and I can't remember if I heard commentary from Carpenter before. I don't have the time to review it now. But just the look of the Norwegian base, I thought, was reminiscent of the original film's look. It's certainly where they kept the block of ice where the creature was frozen in it, and then it got out. So it's kind of like a lot of the events that happened in that film. Of course, it didn't end the way it does as this one begins. But because in that film, it's the American base. They find the ship, and they find, well, they end up blowing up the ship, but they find the alien. And that sort of thing. So you don't get the cool scene you get here where you see the matte painting of the alien, which is, I think it still holds up. It looks really good. And they bring it back. So that's kind of the interesting ways of how he did it in this. His other base and all that. But certainly the steps leading to it and everything, it looks very similar to the original. And that's, you know, it's not really all that significant, but I thought it was kind of cool looking. And and there's like, good Lord, they find a guy who's committed suicide and all this stuff. And they find something that is that human. What is this? You know, and it's one of those morphed out looking things. And it was one of the things, you know, or, you know, it separates. It can never die because it's at a microscopic level, retains its memory, apparently. And you have to assume that the alien spaceship is some other species who's came in contact with this thing, and they're all wiped out. And then the ship crashes on this planet, you know, and oh well. So you know, so you get the other characters. They're all well thought out. They're different personalities and whatnot. It all works, and that draws you in to care about what happens to them and all this sort of thing. And then one by one, you know, and right off the bat, the poor dogs are all wiped out, you know, and just the gruesome transformations of the creature and the effects they did, which today, of course, mostly. I mean, now, granted, I'm thinking, of course, they did do this prequel thing, because they had a series of these remakes of John Carpenter's films. None of them are any good. The only one that is of interest is The Thing, the one they did. That's a prequel to this one, and it's deliberately set up to be a prequel, and they actually end the film the way the original begins. And so it's interesting. I don't, you know, it's kind of unnecessary, but they did the work of trying to make it fit and trying to make things work out to where it fits in with the other film. So, you know, I'll give them a pass on that one, because the rest I was like, well, why'd you do that, you know? And the Halloween's one sucked, and the Fog sucked. So the original stands to be the best. And this one's the horror classic, really, in my opinion. And so it's kind of like, well, okay, it's kind of interesting that you did that. And then you wonder, oh, they could create a whole franchise out of it now, and the next movie will be called Things. Because oh no, it escapes Antarctica and heads into, I don't know, South America or whatever. But yes, it's all very well played out, and it's, of course, the human characters that make that work. And one by one, and there's even moments is like, is it suggesting that McCready, Kurt Russell's character, was the thing? But in the end, it's like, nah. And then, but there is one interesting aspect of it. There's this one bit where one of the guys who transforms, and you realize, oh no, because there's a scene where the dog went into someone's room and you see a shadow, but you don't quite know who that was. But this guy, he starts having stomach pains and whatnot. And then eventually they all think McCready has turned, and they trap him, and they're trying to kill him, but he holds them at bay with dynamite and says, I'm going to blow us all up if you come near me, and all that sort of thing. And they try to rush him, and then he knocks over one of them, and the guy collapses and appears to be having a heart attack. And this is the famous scene where they're trying to save him, and the doctor is putting the paddles on him, and it goes right through his chest, and the chest piece is a giant mouse that eats the doctor's hands and all this gross stuff, and then the guy's head falls off and then becomes like this spider leg thing, and they gotta burn. Oh, it's nasty. But that guy, just based on the scenes leading to it, I had to wonder if it's like he somehow got infected by the entity and didn't realize it, and slowly but surely it was replicating within him, and it just took over his body. And when he collapsed, everything that was human about him was gone, and it was just all alien. You know, even though the thing, when it copies you and it absorbs you or what have you, it gets your knowledge, and it knows your language, understands you, and all that stuff. And you have to assume, but good Lord, the amount of knowledge that thing contains from whatever other species it's come in contact with. So, because there at the end, it was attempting to use the helicopter parts to build another spaceship. It is almost like a miniature flying saucer built underground in the base. So ultimately, the main scientist there, Wilfred Brimley, he realizes what's happening, and that's why he flips out. I think in the original story, he was trying to protect the creature because he wanted its knowledge and everything, and then for the scientific, exploration you could get out of it, all that. But here, what he's doing, his motivation in attempting to cut off all communication and stop everybody and basically kill them all, because he knows that this is an infection, and for all he knows, he's already infected. He just doesn't know. He can't be certain, and that we can't have anybody come in contact with this creature. Now, it's ultimately futile, because whenever a rescue crew was coming, if he had killed everybody and destroyed everything, well, what was he going to do? Keep the creature at bay? And then stop anybody from coming in? How would you do it? And without any communication, he can't say this place is quarantined. Don't come near it. It's very dangerous, and they're still going to come. So there was no way to contain it. Even though they end up adopting Blair's plan, they decide to they're going to destroy everything. Even that's not really going to work. Burning it seems to do somewhat, if that can stop it in its places, but there was other versions of it that the blood would drip and it would form and take on another. So it's very difficult to kill. So if there was any other sequel, whatever that might be of an interest to figure out, well, how would you kill something like that? But so they ended up destroying everything, and they heated up because the creature realized it couldn't build the ship to escape, so it was just gonna wipe everybody out and just go ahead, and it destroyed the generator and whatnot, so that there was no power, and they would all freeze, and the creature needed to freeze, and so when the rescue crew comes, which it now knows that there would be one, so that's all it's got to do is wait for them to come, and then it'll disinfect them and all that and escape. So they destroy everything as well. They attack it and whatnot, and it's down to MacReady and Childs, who Childs is mysterious. Is he one? But at that point, he could have just attacked him right there and be done with it. So I'm left to conclude they're both human, and they're both doomed. They're going to die there. But with all the disaster and everything, maybe, just maybe. But if they can't find a record or anything that the rescue crew comes in, the creature's going to get a hold of them, even though MacReady blew up an awful lot, and that it's burning down there, and if that was all there was, and Childs is not the thing, then, who knows, Oh, yeah, another thing about MacReady, possibly because they find his torn up jacket in the snow and all this sort of stuff, he did the blood test and he passed, so, unless they really concentrated and don't move. But no. So, yeah, I don't think this is one of these guessing games of, was Deckard a replicant? No, this is, I think, and probably Childs too, were both human at the point. Other than that, if Childs is the thing, then he just says, I don't have to do anything. I'll just watch you freeze to death. And that's the end of it. boy, I tell you, just the isolation and all that, and the haunting thing, and the futility of it, and the desperate of the guys trying to fight this thing, is just it's just great. And it's a horror movie in the sense of what the 70s brought. That a lot of the horror movies and preceding that, the good guys would win some way or another. And they really didn't here. It's kind of left up in the open. And of course, John Carpenter's ability of minimalism plays a lot here too, especially in the music, which sets the tone so very well, and certainly encapsulate the mood of how doomed everyone is. So there you go, The Thing. With time permitting, hopefully I can do some more Carpenter films, and eventually I will be doing all of John Carpenter's films. But here we are with Halloween, The Fog, and now The Thing. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness, so many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.